about crystallography. So before we study about crystals, we need to understand some scientific jargons or terms associated with crystallography. The first one is crystal. Then you need to study what is mean by lattice in crystallography and what do you mean by motif and what are the different crystal systems and what are the different Bravais lattices, what are called Bravais lattices and what do you mean by Miller indices. So we will look at each of these terms closely. Crystal, as I told earlier, is a 3D periodic arrangement of atoms or molecules. So in this picture, you can see that there are several atoms. These atoms are arranged. If I take a particular area, you can see that this is a small area. You can find that these atoms are arranged like this, and you can see that the entire solid is made up of these blocks. Okay, if you arrange these blocks together, you can make this entire material. So you can see a regular periodic arrangement of atoms or molecules here. So that is why these are called crystals. So what exactly is a lattice? So this is the second term we are going to discuss. Lattice is a 3D periodic arrangement of points in space. See, here we have molecules. It is purely a geometrical concept. And in this picture, I have shown only the 2D version. Actually, you can imagine it to be a 3D version. That is how these points are arranged uh, in space. Points can be arranged in a different fashion in infinitely different ways. So you can have any type of lattice. First understand this is a purely geometrical concept. How these are and these points will be occupied by atoms or a group of atoms. So let us see that in detail. So what exactly is a motif or base? Motif or base is defined as an atom or a group of atoms associated with each lattice point is called motif or basis. So earlier we have seen these lattice points. So group of atoms, motif means an atom or a group of atom that occupies, that is associated with each lattice point. So you can place the atom here, here, like that. So this is called a motif or base. It can be a single atom or a group of atoms. This occupies the lattice point. What do you mean by a crystal? So crystal combination of a lattice and a motif. So lattice is the underlying periodicity of the crystal. That is how these points are arranged geometrically and how to repeat these points. That is what lattice is. And this motif basically says what to repeat or a group atoms or group of atoms which is periodically arranged, repeated. This basically tells what to repeat and lattice tells what how to repeat and motif is what to repeat. So let us take an example here. So this is a lattice, that is a 2D periodic arrangement of, this is a 2D periodic arrangement of points in space. So if, to be this step. So if I take a crystal like this, so this is just for imagination. Actually, this star can be replaced by an atom or a group of atoms. So now in this section, we will look at what is geometrical crystallography. So first let us see what is mean by lattice translation. So lattice translation means any vector from one lattice point to another lattice point is called lattice translation. So you can see that this is one lattice point. If you move from this one lattice point to another lattice point, so this is a lattice translation. So it can move like this. Okay, it can move like this. Okay, these are called lattice translation. Now coming to the most important part, that is unit cell. At this you can see the unit cell. So unit cell is defined as a region in space which can generate the entire lattice or crystal by repetition through lattice translation. So you can see this is the region here, this is the unit cell. So the translation, you can make this entire crystal. You can generate the entire crystal by using this unit cell by lattice translation. So if you just move this unit cell here, you can find another unit cell. So this is how this entire crystal is made. So this is the definition of unit cell. Commonly, we will take the unit cell as a parallelogram in 2D or a parallelepiped in 3D with corners at lattice points. So we will take these corners as the lattice point. Now, next is non-uniqueness of unit cell. You can have infinitely many unit cells. So you can see that for a given lattice can have infinitely many unit cell. You can see that by joining these lattice points, I can find a unit cell. And see, you can see another unit cell here. So there is a possibility of infinitely many unit cells in primitive and non-primitive unit cell. These points are only when the unit cell is primitive, otherwise it is non-primitive. You can see that here in this unit cell, the lattice points are at the corners. So that is why this is called a primitive unit cell. And this is a non-primitive unit cell. You can see that the lattice point is at the middle and these points are at the corners. Primitive, and again this is a primitive unit cell. You can find these lattice points only at the corners. Now coming to the crystal coordinate system. How will you define the coordinate system for a crystal? So first we need to select a unit cell, select a corner of the unit cell. So this is the corner I have selected. And the vectors from the corners along the edges of the unit cell define the basis vectors of the lattice. Okay. So here you can see the first vector along the edge of the unit cell. So this edge of the unit cell lies in the x direction and this edge of the unit cell lies in the y direction. So these vectors, just draw these vectors, and here this y forms the crystal coordinate system here. So here the alpha is equal to 90 degree. Now let us look at another crystal coordinate system. In the earlier coordinate system, we have seen that alpha is equal to 90 degree, but this is not always the case. If you take a unit cell like this and draw the vectors like this A and B, so you can see that this is the x-axis in this coordinate system and the y-axis in this coordinate system. So these can be non-Cartesian. That means this need not be always 90 degree. Just selecting the vectors along the edges of the unit cell. So alpha can be non-90 degree. Sometimes alpha can be 120 degree, and a can be b, or a cannot need not be is equal to b, like that. So this is how you select a crystal coordinate system. So important point to note is that we will select a corner of a unit cell. First select the unit cell, we will select the corner, and then we will draw the vectors from the corner. Okay. So these vectors form the axis of the unit cell. And this. Now let us look at the lattice parameters. So here you can see a unit cell, and the vectors are a, b, and these are the edges of the unit cell. These are the edges, and alpha is the angle between B and C, and beta is the angle between A and C, and gamma is the angle between A and B. So the lattice parameters here are alpha, beta, gamma. Sometimes A can be is equal to B is equal to C, and alpha is equal to beta is equal to gamma is equal to 90 degree. This may not be the case always. You can have A is equal to B is not equal to C, and alpha is equal to beta is equal to 90 degree, and gamma is equal to 120 degree. You can have many possibilities. By varying the lattice parameters, you can select different types of lattices. The crystal, but you have seen that this lattice, first you select the lattice, then select the unit cell, and then you find the motif, what to repeat. So lattice is how to repeat, and motif is what to repeat. Then finally you will get a crystal. So really it means lattice plus motif finally gives you the crystal.